Which of these actresses had their first child in their 40s? The answer is all three.
You're watching The Right Stuff with Carol Malone, Terry Christian and Lysette Anthony. And you can find out how to buy tickets to her new play, Lysette's new play, No Expense Spared, from our website, 5.tv/rightstuff. Oh, grow up, come on! Get with the time. It's also the same place has details about our Right Stuff Reads book club. This month we're ploughing through Lisa Jules After the Party. Now, still to come this morning on this show, is intelligence overrated? Lysette insists it is.
It's such a lie. I mean, if someone who's been wildly misquoted yourself for years, I would assume.
No. Why bother making your kids study when beauty, muscle and cunning might get them further in life? 0207 173 5555. That's the number for your thoughts on the pros and cons of intelligence, assuming, of course, you can form some. And I'll prove that you said it later on.
You jolly well prove it. Doesn't mean I did just because it's in black and white.
One-word answer. Overrated. You said it. Now, is 40 too old to have a baby?
No.
Back to you. Shut up, Lysette. We're going to get there in a second. New stats that show the number of middle-aged mums has trebled in the last 20 years, a cause for celebration or for regret. Now, we know why you girls delay motherhood. You want to concentrate on your career, you want to save some cash, you want to find the right guy and so forth. But we also know if you delay getting knocked up until you're past 35, that pregnancy starts to get harder, your fertility drops, the risk of birth defects increases and you're more likely to miscarry as well. Indeed, women over 40, I think, are 3 times more likely to lose their babies in pregnancy than younger mums. So is it worth the risk? Do the pros outweigh the cons? Older mums have plenty to give. More life experience, more money and, Lysette, more stability. And you could argue older mums are good for society as well. Why? Well, because they tend to have smaller families. Therefore, they're less likely to clutter up the planet with children. They'll use fewer resources as well. In short, older mums are the greenest mums. But the question is whether or not 40 plus is too old for a baby.
Add one more to the list, very importantly. If you wait to have a baby till you're older, with all the risks and everything, you really want that child, and I think that's more than anything else. That child is desperately longed for and loved.
The other thing that I think is very interesting is that whether or not we should view this relatively, we are all living longer, longer and longer. The stages we go through in life appear to me, at least, to be coming later. You know, my mum is nearly 70, and yet she acts like somebody who's 50. I'm middle 40s, feel about 15. And they're saying middle 40s in my ear. I am! So maybe, relative to where we were 100 years ago, there's been no real change.
And also, women have more choices in their life, more to the point as well.
Is it a cause for celebration, though?
Of course it is. I mean,
what, that older women are having...
Yes,
shouldn't we be celebrating...
What are you going to do, line us up at 39 and sterilisers?
Oh, there's write that one down. Thanks, Lysette. No doubt you're telling you're misquoted 6 months down the line.
Yeah, that's going down, yes.
What are you going to do? Maybe the bit you'll be missing out.
Well, in terms of life expectancy, this is a kind of cynical way of looking at it. If you have your kids a bit later, I mean, like, let's say if you have your kids at 18, there'd be nothing worse than being that kid, age 70, feeling a bit guilty because he's not rung his mum. Do you know what I mean? For a few days. Because you'd end up, you know, because everyone's living longer, you'd end up still having your mum around when you were an old-age pensioner yourself.
Yeah. Most of the people most of the women who have kids when they're 40, they presumably had careers beforehand, which means that there's no unfulfilled ambitions, are there? They've done what they want to do. Because I think if people have kids very early, they maybe wanted to do something else, and they maybe can't at that point. So I actually think that's very good for the child, too.
But there is a worry that I think older parents tend to spoil kids more. I know it sounds odd, but when I grew up, I remember, you know, you get
That's where the intelligence comes
you'd get like the odd kid, you know, who's
but it's overrated,
like, you know, his parents were old.
What about Lysette? I mean, we're approaching this very much from the mother's point of view. What about from the child's point of view, that the child could end up with a pensioner parent or two?
My father was... 40.
Well, of course
you know,
it's
women
just
at 60
nonsense.
are
Yeah, but 60 is the new
incredibly
40, but by the time the child is 18, you could be looking at, older parents. You can have mums giving birth in their late 40s now, and you're talking about, having a mum when you're 17, 18, knocking on 70.
It depends who you are, what your energy capacity is. There's a woman in the paper this week, she's 67, she's got a one-year-old baby. She still works, she's got a career. You look at her, she doesn't look anything close to 67. And I just think, and by the time now kids get to 20, that age thing will have moved again. 70 will be the new 40 or 50 then. And I don't think people anymore, 60 used to write women off at 60 before. Now, it's you can't write them off.
The kids learn more as well, I think. My kids know Jimi Hendrix is. They know about George Best. No, but they know Muhammad Ali. They've got a picture of him in the bedrooms.
An incredibly balanced education.
All the 20th century icons they understand.
Footballers.
It is interesting, though, that we have very much positive views coming from the panel. Let's throw it open to you guys at home. Pros and cons of middle-aged mummies.
OK, first we have Michelle on line 1.
Michelle, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Pros or cons? Which
Definitely a pro. My mum was, I'm 30. My mum was 47 when she had my little brother. Wow. Admittedly, it wasn't planned. She thought she had a cyst, and it wasn't. She was 6 months pregnant. But, I was disgusted at the time. I was 16, and I thought, I was going to end up having to look after him, but actually, it's completely the opposite. I think it makes my parents younger.
I was just about to ask, does it keep your parents younger having a child around?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's 60 as well. They're both 60 now, and he goes biking with my brother. He doesn't want to do anything. He's a very laid-back, well-rounded child.
You see, Michelle, we did a show a couple of months back in which we're throwing out the idea that maybe we need to start promoting the idea of having children to younger women in their early 20s, because the trend is putting things off and off and off. And I'm just wondering whether, we've got a tripling of the rate of women in their 40s having babies in 20 years. Do you worry that perhaps there's too many women in their 40s doing it, that perhaps we're losing sight of maybe some of the pluses of having children when you're younger? Have you had children yourself?
No.
No. And when do you plan, if you plan at all?
Well, I come from a big family anyway, and...
You don't want to have any? Scarred for life?
I think so, a little bit. But, I mean, if I look... I don't see that there's any rush, basically, for me to do it. I look at my mum. I mean,
well, that's kind of what I'm pointing to, is if we have a generation of children growing up with older parents who think, in turn, well, I can keep putting it off, and we are aware that putting it off can have risks in terms of maybe not being able to conceive, that whether or not our parents or older parents are encouraging us down a slightly dangerous or worrying avenue, that perhaps it would be better if we started younger.
Well, I mean, it's both ends of the spectrum. I mean, there's having teenage pregnancies, which, I mean, I don't advocate at all. I mean, I definitely do think you're better off when you're older, because financially, emotionally, you're better equipped with your life experience to deal with a child.
Yeah, although you could argue that physically you're better equipped when you're younger.
You what, sorry?
You could argue, conversely, that you're physically better equipped to have a baby when you're younger. You have more energy, your body is more supple, you have fewer birth defects, your fertility is higher. Nature is saying have babies earlier. Science and society is enabling you to have babies later.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, each is not without its own pro or con. I mean, I think it's all down to the individual. And like Carol said, some people are physically, really physically fit when they're sort of 60, like my parents are, and some people aren't. I mean, I think it all depends on the individual, but definitely for myself, I mean, I might be popping out a baby when I'm 50, I don't know.
I love the language, thank you, Michelle. I hope you do pop it out like a bullet, as Terry suggested earlier. Let's have another, please.
OK, on line 2 we have Karen.
Karen, good morning.
Good morning.
So do the pros of older motherhood outweigh the cons?
Well, like the other lady said, I think it's, both good and bad. Obviously, I would have loved to have my daughter when I was younger.
How old were you when you had her?
I was 46 when I had her.
46?
Yes, I've been waiting to meet somebody. Sorry, that's my daughter talking. Yes, I would have loved to meet somebody and had children earlier, but she wants me to bite her lollipop for her.
Okay.
Suck it. But I didn't meet anybody, and then when I turned 40, I thought I was desperate to have a child.
Yeah.
Sorry about this.
Have you changed your mind since, Karen?
Not at all. I love her to bits. It's all I ever wanted was to have a child, and it was never career-driven.
Right.
Obviously, I have worked. I'm on a career break now.
Right. Why do you think it would have been? Well, I was going to say the word better. Why do you think you might have enjoyed the process had you started younger?
I'm not saying I would have enjoyed it more, but I just feel that, like when I'm 60. When she's 14, I'm going to be like 60 and onwards.
Yeah.
And then when she comes to marrying age, I'm going to be in my 70s and things like that.
But you won't be alone, Karen, will you? The playgrounds and high streets of Britain will be filled with old women with Zimmer frames being pestered by 14-year-old meow dealers. That's how it's going to
be. People will think we're their grandmothers.
No, but they won't, because by the time that happens, there's going to be legions of you out there, because the number of women your age that are having children later has tripled in the last 20 years. You're not alone.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not so bad. Karen, thank you. Let's have another.